Hey, welcome back. Today we are busting 5 myths about crafting really quick. And I want to say, excuse me, I hope my sound's okay. I got a new camera and my mic doesn't work anymore. So hopefully that's okay. But myth number 1 is that I am not artistic enough to get into crafts. And this is actually something that made me hesitant to get into crafts because I was always known as kind of a little bit robotic. I just was always like, a lot of art things more seems like money laundering. Like, who's really paying for this blank canvas with white paint on it? It makes no sense. I mean, you're like, it's expressing the vacancy. No, it's not. But one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a shot. I'm the one I'm just going to give it a shot. See how it goes. So I knew a little bit of basic crochet from my grandmother teaching me, and I decided to try and make something, and I did, and it was all right. And I was like, this was kind of fun. And then when I got into weaving, it was actually because I saw YouTube videos, and I was like, this just seems very relaxing. And I got a little frame loom, and I started working on little projects, and some of them came out hideous and some of them came out rather pretty. And I started to realize where I lacked the initial spark of creativity, there was a lot of things to help fill those gaps. So if I was unsure certain colors went together, I could look online and there was color wheels and examples of different colors together, and I could look at it and go, oh, that actually looks good. And then there was also free patterns everywhere for every type of hobby, whether it was crocheting or weaving or knitting or spinning. There was just free stuff everywhere that you could pull these resources. And what I found was, as I started to do it, it started to create building blocks. So once I understood how to make a star in a crochet pattern, I now knew how to make multiple shapes just by making that star, which opened up the possibility of other ideas. Because now I was like, oh wow, I can actually envision this in different forms because I know how this is made. Another one was when I was working with weaving and I started working with twills, I started to be like, oh, I can actually see what the thread pattern is with the up and the down, and it allowed my mind to start building off of those blocks and see, I like the flowers section in this pattern, and now that I know how to make flowers, I can put those in different patterns. Or I know how to make triangles or whatever it is. You can start to build them into different things. So you become more creative as you start to do it because you understand the basic process. And that's what I found, at least. So another myth that I hear a lot of is it's too expensive to get into. And I say that's false and true. So the reason I say it's a little bit of both is because it depends on what you're doing. Like, if you go out and you buy an 8-shaft loom right away, yeah, that's expensive. Even if you buy it used, you're gonna be spending a few thousand, at least $1,000, right? So you're spending at least $1,000, and that's a lot of money. And if you're buying something, even like a spinning wheel used, you're spending a few $100. They're not incredibly cheap. And they can take some time to save too. But let's face it, for most things we don't start with the most expensive option. I started spinning with a $20 drop spindle. And some people prefer the supported spindles or just different options. But literally there was so many options of handheld spindles that were $20-$30. And then you bought the fiber, and you could spend like $5-$10 on a thing of fiber, and that was awesome. And you could kind of see if you at least enjoy the motions, because you're drafting out the fiber still the same way. It's just, instead of using your feet to treadle, you're just spinning it with your hands and you're spreading it out, which you learn if you like it, right? Another thing is knitting and crochet. Literally, you buy the hooks in the yard. And I bought a set of hooks and a pattern book for, I think, 10 bucks off at Walmart. Let me see if I have it here. I do. See, I opened my little nifty drawer. I bought this. 10 bucks. It has 15 patterns, and they're beautiful patterns, and they tell you exactly what fiber you should use, everything. And it came with several hook sizes. It came with tapestry needles to help weave in your ends, and some place marker hooks. All of them are misplaced, but it came with everything you need to start to do multiple projects, from cardigans to purses to blankets, the whole shebang. And I know they have very similar things for knitting. And then when it comes to weaving, I started with a $20 frame loom. I ended up giving it to my niece, but it was a $20 frame loom. It came with a comb to beat down, and that was, and a little bit of string, I think. But with that, you can do tapestry weaving, which a lot of people do, and Spruce and Linen is a great channel, and she shows literally hundreds of things, tapestries you can make. So if you like making artwork, you may only ever need that $20 frame loom, and you're gonna be happy. When it comes to something like a Bridget Heddle loom, you can get one of those for, you know, I think about 200 bucks is honestly the average range. I think I've seen them down to 160 and up to like 160 for the 15-inch ones, 10, 15 inches. And that's brand new. You can get them a little bit cheaper used, so that's always an option. And yeah, that's a little bit more of an investment. So I'm not gonna pretend each craft is the exact same investment, because they're not. They're gonna be different. Knitting and crocheting, probably the cheapest. And actually I would put spinning right there, because if you're using a drop spindle, it's the exact same. And if you prefer tapestry weaving to, you know, maybe making garments and stuff, that frame loom, that $20 frame loom, it will last you so long. So even then, it really depends on what you're wanting to do. And in all of those, I would say you can literally start these things with a 20, you know, you need to buy at least one pack string, which is $5. So $25 of investment. Most of these you can start and see if you like it. So it's really as expensive as you want it to be. And I hear a lot of people say, they get you with the fiber, they get you with the fiber. They don't actually get you with the fiber. So when you consider the quality of fiber you're using, it's gonna be up there with a lot of things you use. And then also you have to stop and think of how much you're using. So I can get a 350 yard skein of 100% bamboo fabric for $5-6 at my local craft store. I can get a roll of cotton like this, which is over 800 yards, for $15 online. My craft store doesn't carry them. And here's a little sample of the bamboo I have left. And these are natural fibers, and they're great. And then you can also use acrylic fibers, which some people knock, but depending on your project, sometimes you want acrylic, and it's great. So you can literally go to Walmart and you can get a really nice acrylic yarn, and you're getting 350, 400 yards of this fabric for $5. Now, if you're making a sweater, you know, depending on your size, that may be between, you know, 5 to 10 skeins of yarn that you're going to use, and also depending what blanket size or whatever you're using. But it's really not that excessive. And then when you consider, even when you do buy the expensive tools, they last you forever. So your needles and hooks, even if you buy a fancy set, you know, and you like go all out and you don't buy the $5 set or the $15 set I bought, you buy expensive hooks that are like, $20 a hook, you are going to use those forever. And if you buy that spinning wheel, you are going to use it forever. You don't ever need to get a new one. You can use it literally till you die. And then pass it on, and then your kids and grandkids can use it until they die. They last forever. The loom I bought secondhand, and the person who owned it bought it secondhand. Something to consider. Yes, there are ones that can get more expensive than others, but if you are really like, no, I will never, ever, ever buy something more than $20 for a tool to do my hobby, I would say go with knitting or crocheting, because those two, you can very easily say, I'm spending $20 and never a penny more. And those two will fit that budget, and it will never, ever need new tools. You will always have your hooks, you will always have your needles, and they will last you a lifetime, unless you're like beating them against stuff, which most of us don't do. So another kind of rumor is that you don't have time. I don't have time. I'm too busy. So realistically, any project I do, I'm usually doing like 5-10 minutes at a shot. Unless it's like late at night, then I'm doing maybe an hour. But most of the time, I'm doing 5, 10, 15 minutes here and there whenever I get a chance. And there are certain projects you can carry on the go more. So, like knitting and crochet. So, if you're somebody who goes a lot of places, maybe you're going to doctor's appointments or you're going to different types of meetings, this is something you can actually just have in your purse and work on the side. Or if you have a job where you're on the phone a lot, sometimes it's nice to have your hands busy while you're doing this. So some of them are more portable than others. Spinning is portable, but a lot of times the fibers get places, so you'll have to carry a lint roller. That's just something to consider. And then weaving, unless you're doing something on a frame loom that's portable, yeah, it's a little bit harder to travel with, I'll be honest. So the idea of I don't have time is really just I don't want to make time. And that's fine if you don't. But when you think about it, we always have time to doom scroll on Instagram or Twitter or whatever social media platform it is. And that's increasing our cortisol levels. It's giving us anxiety. It's, increasing our blood pressure, all of these things. Whereas, taking that 5 minutes to work on a project that's going to give you something at the end is actually reducing your cortisol levels. It's lowering your blood pressure. It's reducing your anxiety. And I think, that's something to consider. Like, do you have time for, which one do you have more time for? One that's going to improve your life overall, or one that's going to make you want to pull your hair out? And I think that's something you have to just decide on. Another is it's antisocial. I feel like book club should have really dispelled this myth, because reading a book is a pretty isolated project. Nobody's reading it with you. But then we invented book clubs, and now people do read it with you and you discuss it. Whereas we have different types of fiber clubs that people can join. A lot of civic centers, churches, libraries, all of these things will actually have a type of fiber club along with book clubs. So the idea of it being antisocial, there's also guilds. That's another thing that people often forget about, is there's a lot of guilds out there to help you. So when we think it's antisocial, no, it's as antisocial as you want to be. So if you're a very social person, it's a very social hobby. If you're an antisocial person, it is an antisocial hobby. But it's not the hobby that makes it that, it's you. So it depends on what you want from it. And most people want a little bit of a mix. Sometimes they want to do it with people, and sometimes they just want to be alone and relax while, watching a movie or listening to some music or an audio book. And that is perfectly fine. And then the last myth. I'm going to have all these things I make, and I'm never going to be able to get to using them all because they're just going to stack up. I'm going to have clutter because of it. Um, Also, not true. What you find is as soon as you start making stuff, depending on your progress. So I know some people who only make like one sweater a year or one item, one or two items a year. And obviously, because of that, they never really have a lot of stuff built up around them. Um, but if you're like me and you make quite a few things, what you'll find is everybody wants them. Uh, so you can end up giving away a lot as gifts. Every time I realized how much it was because I make a lot of hand towels when I'm weaving and trying new techniques. And I had made probably uh, probably about 12, 14 hand towels in project hand towel projects that, and I had two hand towels. And I was like, wait, where'd all these hand towels go? I've made so many. And it's because every time I finished a project, somebody was like, oh, that's so pretty. My birthday's coming up. And I'm like, oh, here you go. Here, you can have it. So um, there's always going to be somebody who appreciates your stuff. Whether you want to sell or not, a lot of people decide against it. A lot of people will like it as a gift. And if you just enjoy the process of making it, that's great. Sometimes you don't want to give it away, and that's fine, and that's for you. And you keep that and you're happy with it. But that's just a sign that it's not going to build up all around you. You're not going to be like, oh my goodness, I have 900 sweaters, because somewhere along this line, somebody's going to be like, I really like your sweaters. And you're going to be like, oh, here, take this one. I have plenty. So that's something to keep in mind. So those are some of the 5 common myths that I hear a lot about crafting. And I just wanted to kind of say it's what you want to make out of it. So if you want it to be expensive, it's expensive. If you want it to be budget friendly, it's budget friendly. If you want it to be time consuming, it is. If you want it to be 5 minutes at a shot, it is. Social or antisocial, all of these things, they're going to come down to what you want to make from it. You don't have to have any one of these paths. You can choose a mixture, and you can choose it based on your project. So it really is about your lifestyle and fitting that hobby into it, not molding your lifestyle around a hobby. And that's what you'll find that you end up doing. And hopefully at the end of it, you'll actually love it. Oh, and a bonus tip for those of you who say, I don't have time, they find that people who do fiber crafts are actually more productive throughout the day. So you're actually giving yourself less time by not taking 15 minutes to work on your next project.